What's going on? Oh, he just left. Gosh darn it.
Is it on the find it?
Check. We're live. We got our Twitter spaces open. See if Logical Logistics comes back in. Yeah, this is going to be a fun show tonight, I think. We'll see who joins us. Oh, Russ is up.
Nice.
Wait him to speak. Guybrush, 3pood. 3pood. Do you know them?
No.
Okay.
We could meet him.
We can meet them.
Where's our buddy Don?
I don't know. We'll probably see him in the comments here pretty soon. So from this one, I can click on the...
And does that send the comment to all the different?
Yeah, it puts it up on the screen.
Nice.
And then this one lets me reply to all, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But unnecessary, but I'll have that up there for you to see because so you don't have to look all the way across.
Okay.
Do you invite anybody to come watch tonight?
I always tell Joe about it. I retweeted it just now.
Man, you've been gaining followers real quick.
Then the car man got me a few.
Marty probably did by shouting you out.
Oh yeah.
That probably felt pretty good. That's good. Those guys are awesome.
He retweeted it, but I didn't realize he. Yeah, I said that.
We got anything else we want to talk about tonight?
I think the ESG stuff would be good. I can at least give like a summary of Colin's article and hopefully get people to go read it.
Cool. Cool. Well, let's go. Welcome to Toxic Airwaves, show 4, Bitcoin Maximalists by Bitcoin Maximalists of the toxic variety. How you doing tonight, Skeeve?
Doing pretty good. I think it's also show number 4, which was what I thought you were saying earlier, but I misunderstood.
Yeah, well, it is show number 4. So yeah, we're going to talk about some good stuff tonight. You want to start us off with our sponsor, Dirtbags?
Yes. Everybody go check out Dirtbags Bar in Tucson, Arizona. They are on Speedway and Campbell. I just realized the previous 3 times I did not mention where they are so that you guys did not have the opportunity to go check them out. So go check out Dirtbags Bar. They are our sponsor. And as you all know, they are the greatest place in Southern Arizona to meet your future ex-wife.
Yes, 100%. They're a great place. They have $6 burgers. Beers are kind of expensive though, from what I remember, but that's pretty standard for a campus bar. But what you're getting is some great atmosphere.
That's right. And once we become sponsored by them then maybe we can work out some kind of discount for Toxic Airwaves listeners.
Yep, that would be incredible. I'm sure everybody would be going out there. But yeah, we got some fun news this week. Max Kaiser, it's coming out to Arizona on August 19th. I'm looking forward to that. For the fucking Elon tour, it's gonna be a blast. Bummed you won't make it, Skeeve.
I will be in Texas at that time, going to Austin Bit Devs and then sticking around for BitBlock Boom.
Yeah. Well, we've got some good news to start off on tonight. I'm really, really excited about this. So the National Bureau of Government Economic Research says that the COVID recession is over.
Yep, it ended April 20th. So anybody that's still having economic problems, it must be something else because the recession's over.
All you small businesses that had to close down out there.
Yep, it's good to know they're all back to normal because the recession's over.
Yep.
So good to go.
Yeah,
Glad they don't need any help anymore.
100%. So I wonder how they judge that.
I'm sure they have some bullshit metric like how inflation's calculated or something, like one of those things where they can adjust the inputs until they get the output that they want.
Yeah,
which is essentially what they do with inflation.
Yeah, they're really good at that. I mean, I'm at the point right now, I just don't trust any statistic that's put forward to me in any regard.
Yeah, no.
I saw one that was saying that 99% of hospitalizations for COVID in the past month were from unvaccinated individuals. And I think that's really untrue. So,
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, let's talk about some ESG stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Marty's paranoid in the slightest.
I do not either. Yeah. That was I don't know how much crossover we have with rabbit hole recap, but that was one, I don't know, I guess one tweet that Marty read on air that is basically two questions that I don't know. In all this, it's easy to get really distracted by what I think that Darren guy was saying on the podcast about, the renewable mix is 68 point whatever %. And it's all these facts. And they, the people that are promoting this stuff don't care about facts. Like that's, I think, one area where I would have aligned a lot with what Marty was saying. But like the two basic questions as I see it are, are we adapting and redeeming this existing system, or are we building a parallel system? And then the other question is, does the mob matter? And for me, I think we're building a parallel system. The mob absolutely does not matter. And I think that, taking, not just taking these people serious, but, like somebody like Saylor not realizing that, he talks about like there's 1% that are opposed to Bitcoin and 1% that are pro, and then everybody else doesn't care. And it's like those people that are opposed that are the ones pulling the strings. Like they're, in my opinion, are outright communist. Like I don't think it's an exaggeration. And it's like what a lot of people don't realize is the violence that these people typically employ to get what they want, which is very much not good.
Yeah, you suggested for me to read Kill Vanish.
Oh, Surprise Kill Vanish.
Surprise Kill Vanish.
By Annie Jacobson. It's a very, very, very good history of the CIA. And she is, I like conspiratorial stuff as much as anybody, but she's like totally straight-laced. She'll give a presentation at Harvard like that. She's that kind of a writer and author, and also an extremely good, I don't know she's not a historian, but investigative journalist, something like that. But it's a very, very good history of the CIA. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through it. It's a really interesting book.
Yeah, and she goes through a lot of the, like she profiles this guy named Billy Waugh, who was, he was the first person to get a picture of Osama bin Laden back in the 90s in either Sudan or Somalia, one of those countries in Africa. I believe it was Sudan. But.
Yeah, I just bring that book up to kind of go off your point of these people are violent, they hate us, and they have no regard, for what we're going through.
And I think too, like, because I'm also, like, a lot of times this gets kind of painted as a very nihilistic, pessimistic view. For me, I think it's actually extremely positive. Like this idea that we're building a parallel system, to me, that means that what these people have control over is not something that we want to be involved with anyway. So they've got, they've got the banks locked down. They've got the big corporations locked down. Like they've cemented control over a pile of ashes. And I think as Bitcoiners, we have the opportunity to say, yeah, no, you guys keep doing that, print another $6 trillion and, have your corporations in all this nonsense, have ESG, whatever, like all this garbage. We're going to be over here building the future and building a parallel system and building, hopefully eventually parallel societies as well. And, there will be, a large, I don't know, I think like communist hellhole type areas for quite a while.
Well, you kind of see that happening in the inner cities right now, where these people really have a large amount of control. And I think that's, clearly tied together, where they get to run their welfare programs and manipulate every aspect of our lives and economy. And so I think rural areas are a lot safer, and I'm moving rural for that reason. But yeah, Marty hit a really good thread. So BlackRock, Vanguard, and other index providers are scooping up large portions of shares by publicly traded companies dealing with Bitcoin. Well, will they use their voting power to influence business operations, or will they use their power? So they bought some Marathon, they bought some Riot, they bought some MicroStrategy, some Square. So yeah, I mean, pretty much all the big players in or some of the biggest players in the U.S. are now owned by these guys that are promoting this ESG narrative. 100%, they're going to try and control it.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity that we have is, if we're right, then bowing to this ESG narrative is a massive competitive advantage, because what does that entail? And it's going to entail financial censorship. It's going to entail uneconomic forms of electricity. It's going to all this stuff that's not directly related to acquiring as much Bitcoin as possible. And so I think it's inherently a disadvantage, but it's just about what does that look like in the short to medium term? How do we I don't know, kill that threat sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think Marathon was the one that proposed the idea of mining clean blocks right off the bat. And so this isn't that out there. They're already talking about doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I totally, like, I think, going off of what you said about not worrying about worrying as much about what the mob says. I mean, if you could walk into a grocery store and you ask anybody common sense questions, they're probably not going to be able to answer it. You ask them what's a good investment, they couldn't give you a straight answer. People are tuned out and not very educated on these topics, and so they just kind of go along with whatever's going, and those aren't the people that are going to be making a difference in the future. And so I totally agree with you about the idea of going and making those parallel systems, because at the end of the day, I think the only thing that we can actually control is small scale stuff. So like, if we go into politics, we're going to lose that battle because it's a rigged game. We're watching, the GameStop rebellion. Those guys, are playing a rigged game. There's not a whole lot we could do outside of just going and starting to build our citadels for real. So,
and it's like at the end of the day, it's like the power of, the existing system has already peaked. So the power, resource accumulation, all that there is trending towards zero. It might be going a lot slower than we would like, but it's been trending towards zero for a while now. I would comfortably say at least since 2008, probably much earlier. And whereas these parallel systems they start with nothing and they trend towards infinity. And so I definitely think, and I don't even think it needs to get to the point to where these parallel systems are as big as the existing system. Once they're, I don't know what that critical mass is, 5%, something like that. It's probably not too much higher than that, to where it really starts to build a mass and people realize, oh, I can opt out. I don't have to deal with all this nonsense. And it's like I think that's what incentivizes people to really learn and become sovereign in self-custody, is that they get to such a hard spot with the existing system that they're almost forced to opt out, to opt into the parallel system, but which is just the whole Bitcoin world, circular economy. You can call it all the different buzzwords.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, our whole generation is at the point where the majority of us struggle to be able to afford a house, and it's just ridiculous because of the inflation. It's very clearly a result of the inflation, and not the 2% of reported inflation.
I was in an Uber just this week, and the guy, he was from Afghanistan, and he was telling me about how the median price in Tucson, I believe like 3 years ago, was like 150 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And today I wanted to say, he was saying it was like 250 or 300 or something like that. So it's effectively doubled in 3 years. And, you know, and he was relatively clued in. Like, we ended up talking later about how terrible central banking is and stuff like that. So he was particularly aware guy, but he was saying, you know, his basic point was housing doubled. You know, did your income double? Did my income double? Did anyone else's income? No, you know, and, you know, maybe some people's did, but I don't know. It's just like very, you know, average everyday people are cluing into that something's very fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, we got somebody.
We got Joe Rogers.
Joe
You got anything
Rogers.
first, Joe?
Chihuahua
Hello.
Maximus.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
It's an honor. I just dialed in. What was the topic of conversation?
Oh, we were just talking inflation.
Inflation and ESG. Was just about to shill Arceris's article, actually. So if you want to, I read it today. It was fantastic.
Well, I don't want to show it. You show it.
All right. Colin. Oh, I actually don't know his last name. I only know Arceris mostly. It's on his Twitter, or on the article. Crossman.
Colin.
Bitcoin, carbon credits, and regenerative farming on Bitcoin Magazine. It's a very good article. So it's what we were talking about earlier was, you know, it could be summarized as fuck ESG. And I'm just going to call him Arceris because Colin feels weird. Arceris has a very, very good article in Bitcoin Magazine talking about one angle, how, you know, basically ranchers, if you guys follow Untapped Growth, I'm sure most of you do, kind of what he's doing. And Arceris, I believe, has been involved in that to some degree, but basically where they can use these ranches to get carbon credits, to sell them, to fund the operations, to pay off the land, to do all sorts of different things. But yeah, it's a good article. And his, you know, it's the way I read that article, at least, it was more of a accelerationist, bleed the system dry. I don't know. To me, like, it's a very different approach from Michael Saylor's, you know, oh, they're just nice people with some questions. All they need to do is, you know, fill out a form. Why are you giving them so much trouble? They're not communist terrorists, that kind of thing. But yeah, I thought Arceris had a great article on how some Bitcoiners might take advantage of this to do some cool stuff like regenerative agriculture. You want to read Don's question?
Yeah, I was worried that Don wasn't going to show up today. Don's question is: Michael Saylor a Trojan horse for the U.S. government?
Well, in the Dirtbags chat, the whole topic of that, or was it whenever that interview first came out, I started the discussion with asking if anybody had listened to it, and I forget what I said, something to the effect of "motherfucker sounds like a spook." And I don't know. I took the position that we got a fundamentally different look at Saylor during that interview. I don't know to what extent anybody agrees with that or disagrees with that, but you know, I never had these like cypherpunk expectations of Saylor. You know, he's a public company CEO. He's, you know, he probably gets 3 prostate exams a week from federal regulators. I mean, this is not a guy that's going to care about privacy, self-custody. Just, you know, never has, never will. You know, wolves eat deer and trees grow leaves. Like, these are just kind of observations. And so anyway, all that to say, you know, was not expecting him to be some kind of cypherpunk hero or anything like that, but still hearing how, I don't know, like how disingenuous his counter arguments were, how dismissive of the facts of what's happening today, that is nefarious and terrible. And then just the general apology and the kind of presentation of, you know, oh, most of these ESG folks are, they're just consultants or whatever. And it's like, no, these are not. I mean, most of them. I don't know. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Song did a good Bitcoin Tech Talk episode this morning, and he was trashing Eric Voorhees. And one of the things he said was, when your paycheck is dependent on not understanding something, you're not going to understand it. And I think that's kind of looking at Michael Saylor. He doesn't have this company and all of the success without government permissions and okay. And we're trending in the direction of ESG, where it is starting to become the standard for investing, and there's a lot bigger powers at play that are pushing it and will go after you if you don't comply and bend the knee to it. So yeah, it's okay, Don. We're glad you're here. So I mean, yeah, I think it comes back to the idea we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, is everybody could potentially be an attack vector towards Bitcoin. And I think it's important not to put too much faith in, different individuals. There's some things that Michael Saylor says that are really good. Like, you need Bitcoin because it's, gosh, Don.
Yes, he does, Don.
You need Bitcoin because cash is a melting ice cube, and that's great and all, but without Bitcoin being decentralized and immutable and censorship resistant, then it really isn't that special or different from, the upcoming Fed coin or anything like that. So,
and it's like, if you study history, like, this is how and this isn't just Bitcoin specific, like, these are how these social attacks, how they develop, and how, it's how subversion has worked throughout history. Like, they don't come out with, no self-custody because of the environment, something racism on day one. They ratchet it up slowly. And I don't know, there's just, the thing that kind of catches me off guard is how many people, aren't aware that, like, historically, the people pushing these policies, they're the people that are willing to put somebody up against a wall. And like, this is, I don't know, like, this is the kind of the history of these kind of leftist revolutionary leaning movements. Is it's not a bunch of people, talking about how can we fund a park together or something like that.
yeah, I don't even know if I would call this a leftist movement, because if you look at like the leftist movements that are going on right now, that are really taking a lot of foothold in every aspect of society with the critical race theory stuff, and it seems like it's more of a tool used to undermine any sort of serious movement that's going on, rather than it being. I don't think these trillionaires and people that are really pulling the strings and pushing the ESG movement are ultimately communists. I think they just want to steal everybody's stuff and be rich and laugh as all the small businesses are shuttered. So
yeah, and I think there's a really, I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but there's a book called, I believe it's called Wall Street and the Bolsheviks, but it's a really interesting book about how Wall Street worked with the Bolsheviks to launch the revolution, to play both sides of the war. And it's, I don't know, I think I don't know what the right term is for that, because I do think it's the same group of people who did that, who, not to get into it, but did 9/11, and who did the coronavirus, who did all this stuff that's going on today. Is it's the same, like, it's the financial group, it's the JP, the people that run the banks, and it's, I don't know what exactly their motivations are beyond kind of power and control, but it's like, all different kinds of people from all over the world, all over the globe. But it's like the people who try to try to take control of these movements and use them for their own ends.
one of our streams is down. Weird. The Young Lurk, welcome back to the show. The ESG movement is people realizing that they're losing power, so they're changing the narrative for their favor. I think that's a good take on it.
And I think they're definitely, that's one big thing I think Marty got right in that interview is it's about control. And it's, these people are about societal control, economic control. They've got all the answers. We're all the dumb peasants. They know what we need. So, just sit back and let Uncle Joe and Uncle Jerome Powell take care of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Central banking is just so evil and so unjustified. And I don't know why there isn't, a massive uproar about that in our society right now, because it seems like it's just pretty apparent what's happening.
Yeah. I think just most people, like that Uber driver, like they haven't quite, made the full kind of connection. Because it's a big leap to realize like the foundation of the society you live in is like corrupt and evil, that it's not just, there's some good and some bad. It's like, no, it's fundamentally corrupt, and it's built on control and authoritarianism. And, for the first time in history, we have a tool that lets us opt out at scale. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think like in the face of this, going back to the idea of the Citadel, I think this is such a, powerful idea, going back to, again, focusing on the things that we can control, because to a large degree, we can't control, what these guys are going to do, what the monetary policy is going to be. They have all the guns. Like Joe Biden said, you can't take on the government without F-15s and nukes, which is true to some extent. But I think, just opting out, like one of the things, we were talking in our meetup chat today about what the potential for another round of lockdowns is. And it is, a possibility. And there are a lot of people in Tucson that want to lock down again, that have not taken their masks off, even, after getting vaccinated, and really get upset with other people for not wearing masks. And, there's a potential for that to happen, but, having networks of businesses that, won't respect that. I've been trying to move our meetup exclusively over to this one business that stayed open and didn't require masks through the entire mess. And I think patronaging businesses like that, and then also, having, like, I mean, if we lock down again, I'll happily have meetups at my house, and have events at my house. Like,
Yeah.
we
Barbecue at a park, or there's all kinds of.
Yeah. I don't know. Rahina doesn't like the parks. We'll tear down her caution tape she puts around all over the place.
I did that I was living in Portland, Oregon, when COVID first hit, and I'd take my kids to the park and tear down the caution tape, and would get so many dirty looks from a bunch of uptight lunatics up there. It's like, I don't know. And then the other kids were mad, and I was like, "Hey, kid, it's not my fault your mom sucks."
Yeah, I just couldn't believe that. Walking through the parks, seeing that tape, like that does anything.
I threw that shit in the trash, and told my kids we were not going to let a bunch of idiots ruin our fun.
Such a great thing. Such a great attitude to have. I mean, it's just like my life pre-Bitcoin. The amount of power that I had was very little. And this is something I try and share with liberty-minded people, is like, if you're locked out of the financial system, there's really nothing you can do. And if you don't have any meaningful savings, there's nothing that you can do.
Yeah.
You're just a slave.
And I can't remember if we talked about it here or separately, but I remember we were talking about, just the idea of that, Africa with telecommunications went from nothing to cell phones. They just totally skipped the whole landline infrastructure. And it's like, probably that continent with Bitcoin is going to go from nothing to Bitcoin financial services and skip a lot of the banking middle layer and all that garbage. But Don Reedy is asking me how the Wolves were. The Wolves are fantastic. My older son's obsessed with wolves. We went to a wolf sanctuary in Colorado for a good time, about a 4 or 5 day trip. It was good. It was super fun.
How many wolves were there?
There were, I think, 20 something. And then there were also these dogs that were from New Guinea that were supposed to be special. But if I saw them at a PetSmart, I would just think they were normal dogs. So I don't know what was going on with that. But the wolves were pretty awesome, especially the big ones.
Did they all howl at night together?
We did hear some of them howl. And yeah, Learned all kinds of new fun facts, like a wolf bite is significantly stronger than a lion bite. A wolf is 1,500 psi. A lion is 900. Anyway, that's enough about wolves.
I can't believe I didn't ask you that.
No.
I had that on my mind to ask you
That's a good time.
first thing when you came over. Yeah. Got Phil trying to connect.
All right.
We'll see. Logical logistics. You got anything for us?
Just I'll add on to the wolves. There's a wolf pack in Yellowstone that only hunts bison, which is like the most badass thing I've ever heard of coming from a wolf.
Nice.
That is interesting.
Those are some gangster wolves. Bison are huge.
Yeah. I spent some time on a wolf refuge, and that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and these, you have to be 18, but you can actually go in and like pet them and hang out with them and stuff like that. And yeah, I was obviously not gonna let my kid do that, but they're fun to see.
I fed one with my hand. It freaked
really?
me out.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. The thing was huge.
And I knew some people in up by Portland that had these dogs. One of them was 3/4 wolf, 1/4 husky, and one was half husky, half wolf, and they were big.
So now that the COVID recession is over, what do we do?
I guess just sit back and watch the money flow in. Maybe, I don't know.
Are they going to be giving out any more stimulus checks in the future, do you think?
I don't know. I saw there was some kind of child tax credit because I had the misfortune of walking by a TV with MSNBC on. So I watched it for about 45 seconds, and I saw it was Biden and Kamala the cop talking about some child tax credit thing. So I don't know where that's at.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard about that recently. I don't have any kids, so I don't know. Yeah, have you noticed since coming back to Tucson, have you noticed anything about the economic status of our city?
That's a good question. I haven't paid real close attention. I'm trying to think. 'Cause my work's remote, so I wasn't really looking for work when I got down here, so I didn't really see what that job market's like or whatever. I think I was pleasantly surprised. A good chunk of the restaurants I remembered from when I lived here before were still around. So that was good. Like a couple of my favorite Indian spots.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been like a couple iconic restaurants that have shut down, but for the most part, I think everything's doing okay. I think it was helpful that we didn't get a huge,
The new BIP, that's some Bitcoin ATM company, I believe, proposed it. So Don is asking, what do you guys think about the new BIP that was proposed? I forget the number. I don't remember the number either, but there was a BIP from some ATM.
Your KYC info is embedded to
I
the
didn't know
app
it was that
you-
terrible.
I saw that. I just glanced on it.
Gross. Yeah, well, and that was the thing. It's like we're supposed to adjust the protocol to meet the regulatory requirements of your business. Go fuck yourself.
300? Hit 300? Is that what you are talking about?
No, that's the drive chain one.
I don't think it's actually a BIP yet.
Okay.
I think they were just like sourcing comments on it. I don't think it's actually been formalized into a BIP yet. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Gotcha. That sounds right. I hope it never gets formalized and it dies.
Well, I think we kind of have to be relentless with this stuff and battling it, because what they tend to do is they float some awful idea that they know they'll get some bad reaction from, and then they'll present something that's a little less ridiculous, but then they'll slowly bring it back again. We're seeing this with vaccine passports right now. What's going on, Phil? Good to have you on.
What's up? I hope I don't get kicked off. I was having connection issues, but my Wi-Fi is garbage. But I was wondering if you dudes knew what the proper dosage of ivermectin is for the coof.
Gosh.
I haven't looked into it. You could ask Marty what he took, because I know he had a very good experience with it.
I did DM him I think
Okay.
he's busy being Daddy Marty.
Uh,
But wait, okay, so it sounds like Skeef is on the other end. Is that Skeef?
Yeah,
yes, it is. Who is
What
it?
up, dude?
Phil Gibson.
Oh, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good to
No,
hear.
I'm asking about the Koof serum because one of our friends
Did you get
at
the
the
Rona?
meetup, one of our friends at the meetup got the Rona, and then they went back to Cali and they finally got some ivermectin, but they were like, I don't know how much to take. I'm like, well, take a shot and chase it with a shot of tequila.
It sounds like a question
But-
for a doctor.
Yeah. I mean, you could
Yeah,
Google.
right?
You could Google
Except
like
too
the
bad the doctors won't fucking tell you.
Google the standard dose, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I'm trying to
double
look
it or
right now.
something.
I don't know if that's approved in the U.S. for that usage.
Yeah.
I looked into a little bit of what ivermectin is, and it's generally used to treat parasites.
Yeah, I think I got a B in high school biology, and that's the extent of my medical credentials.
Nice. Are you a product of public school as well?
I am. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm still working on.
Lots of deprogramming still.
Yeah. What do you think's like the best way to deprogram from public school? What's been your best resource?
For me, the motivation too was definitely having kids, of like really causing me to question a lot of the, rather than, oh, this is just how I do things, like to really question, each thing. And is that something I want to pass on to them? Is that something that I want to emulate for them? And so that, like I was, I started having kids 9 years ago. So this is a while ago, but, would have been kind of a standard constitutional, LARPitarian, I don't know, just kind of that perspective of, a lot of good principles as far as, fuck the state, things like that, but just nothing in the way of actually doing anything worthwhile with it. And, thinking that Gary Johnson does something and all that garbage. And then, is really, just kind of more and more like just questioning different things. It's like, oh, like I said, why do I think that? Where did it come from? Is that something that I want to pass on to them? And kind of hopefully, I mean, I'm sure I'm still passed on all kinds of nonsense, but hopefully filtering that down at least a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, that and like for me, COVID was a huge wake up. I mean, Bud Tugley, I know who that is. COVID19criticalcare.com. Follow these guys. They're great. All right. Yeah. But actually, Bud Tugley, you should join. Join the Twitter Spaces. Can you figure that out? Are you smart enough?
Might be hard to find. It's under Tucson Bitcoin's profile. I don't know if I retweeted on Toxic
Yeah.
Airways.
I retweeted it. So go. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Go
Spaces.
look
But
at
anyway,
Skeeps.
what were we talking about?
I'll be amazed if this show is up for much longer on YouTube.
I think probably there's a threshold of viewers. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna be
Maybe
shadow banned.
before they care. I don't know. But that's what I was gonna say. So like the COVID stuff. So going into COVID, if you had asked me, let's call it December of 2019, what percent of the population is just completely mindless sheep? I would have said, by 30, 40%, something like that. And then now it's like, I don't know, I'm thinking 85 is pretty conservative. And just my rough proxy for that is, I was telling somebody the other day, is things like, have you put on a mask outside in the last 6 months? Because if so, you're probably hopeless.
I don't know if I really want to wear a mask at all outside this entire time.
Yeah.
I feel really sad for those poor souls that are sitting at a bus stop by themselves with a mask on in 110-degree weather.
Fucking the guy doing landscape. I tweeted this, but the guy doing landscaping outside my house today was wearing a mask, and whatever company he worked for had customers complain because the landscapers weren't wearing masks. Presumably just some fucking, I don't know, some dumb bitch sitting inside in the AC looks out the window and, says, oh, that guy needs to go wear a mask, even though he's the one actually, it's gross.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
That's just awful. I mean, it's so hot. Yeah, I mean, what we're going to see ultimately is a massive fracturing of society as a result of this.
It's going to be wonderful. I'm excited. It's already starting.
So why go into that a little bit? Why do you think that's a good thing?
I think the sooner we can kind of crystallize the difference between people who are authoritarians and people who are not, like that's something we've talked about before, is the dividing line is not culture, it's not race, it's not even really politics specifically. It's, are you trying to control somebody else's life or not? And if the answer is no, I'm not, then then I have no issue with you. I'll with everything, whatever else you want to do outside of that, go for it. It's none of my business. And I think the sooner that we can formalize that split, and I don't know if vaccine passports, if that's the one that'll do it, if forced vaccination on kids, I don't know, maybe it'll be a combination of things. I don't know what exactly it'll be that'll put that split in, and be the starting point towards leading towards like a balkanization of the country type situation, which I think would be extremely positive, like some point where the federal government dissolves and there's a set of autonomous regions, and then over time those same thing happens there till it gets smaller and smaller and more decentralized. But that, I have no idea what the timeline is on that.
Yeah. I saw some really interesting, and I was saying how I don't trust statistics earlier, and I still don't trust statistics, but the fact that this article was floating around citing that I think it was like 44% of conservatives Southern conservatives want to secede.
Nice. Good for them.
And there was a bunch of Democrats in California, and I am 100% for the idea of California seceding.
Floated off into the Pacific.
Yeah. I can't stand California. I was talking with Brian Harrington today. I love, there's some great people in California, but the state, I just can't stand it.
Orange County is very nice. I was out there last week. Went to OC Bitcoin meetup, got to see Nick Bhatia. That was pretty cool. Orange County was very, very reasonable. I didn't see any COVID hysteria, but I'm sure outside of Orange County, it gets pretty terrible pretty quick.
Yeah. So Don says 9 college students in Indiana tried to sue Indiana University for vaccine requirement, and they all lost today. No surprise there. Yeah. The academies are the bastion of the state. They serve the state in the same way that public schools do. And the solution there is just don't go to college.
Yeah. And it's like, as long as you're participating in that, and this is the problem with voting, like this is the problem with ESG, it's like this is the problem with continually going to this university that requires vaccine. It's like you're funding your own oppression. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? I don't, like if somebody is trying to make ends meet and they have a job and the job says you get the vaccine or you quit and you're homeless, that's a very, very, very hard decision. And I don't fault anybody, whatever, decision they make in that kind of a scenario. But it's like these situations where, it's like, oh, this public state school wants to put poison in my body so I can go, have the pleasure of enjoying their indoctrination. Like, no, go fuck yourself. I think that's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Don't go to places that they hate you.
Yeah.
It's really, really simple. I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is like needing permission to do things.
Yeah.
Or feeling like they need permission to do things. I think a lot of people just kind of go along with the flow until they're told it's okay not to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I hope for a show like this, and the other content I produce, is it's like permission to say no.
So fun facts. Everything I read, like I found an appropriate dose, but it's just mind-boggling that we're having to take antiparasitic drugs in order to get rid of this thing. Mm. So, I mean, it's like they essentially created a parasite, not like a disease.
Yeah. it is super weird. And hydroxychloroquine is also, a malaria drug, which is somewhat of a parasite.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is the vaccine to status cox.
And it's also the parasite to the fiat system.
Yes.
Yep.
It literally feeds off the host of fiat and benefits. God, I love it because the state is a parasite. The state consumes the productive private sector, and it has to do that by rape and pillaging, like the fruits of our labor, because we as the private sector perform and just thrive in spite of the state itself because we are its weakness. I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, they just leech off of us. Steal our productivity.
Hey, I'll put a spin zone on the on that proposed BIP. It's telling that they're coming out preemptively and trying to obtain, I think it's telling that they're coming out and trying to. They're kind of giving the playbook away on how they're approaching the travel rule. This is the first time any VASP or any Bitcoin ATM that we're aware of has publicly come forth and said, we're aware of the travel rule, and these are the 5 things that we're thinking. So in a way, it's almost like they're tipping off their users about this is what's coming down the pipeline. Okay, be ready for it. And if this is an issue for you, then don't use us. The reason I say that is because the mechanism of which they describe how their ATM works seems to be, it seems to eliminate some of the operators in that market. It's not a very large market. And then this is a little bit more conspiratorial, but I'm wondering if this was done, consider that maybe the executive board and the compliance team is saying nope, we're going to comply with the travel rule. We will comply 100%. And then it's possible someone on the dev team or an engineer or someone was like, wow, the market's going to fucking hate this. I'm just going to post this BIP anonymously and let, the community is going to provide feedback on this, and our company is going to see it, and they're going to see how hated this idea is, and it could influence their decision that way. So that overall, I don't think that's the case, but this is the spin zone.
I'm sorry, Logic. What is this BIP about?
So the BIP says, the Financial Action Task Force is, I don't even think they're a government agency, but they're an oversight entity. So they're unelected. And they're coming out, I can't remember the travel rule. This isn't my area of expertise, but the travel rule is something like you have to make a best effort attempt at trying to identify where the funds are going. It's easier for financial institutions because they operate within the system. It's a lot hard. Currently there is no travel rule compliance with respect to blockchain because it's only on the blockchain. You can do whatever the hell you want. Not privately, but you can do whatever you want. So the travel rule they're saying is that if any centralized entity, if any centralized exchange or virtual asset service provider is going to enable a withdrawal on the blockchain, then you have to identify where that money is going. In this case, it looks like the specific context of this, the idea of a BIP, because it's not a BIP yet, but it looks like they're not exactly trying to obtain KYC. They are trying to obtain, at the very least, the virtual asset service provider of the destination of funds. And really, this is KYC with extra steps, because imagine from the Bitcoin ATM's perspective, they conduct, or money laundering is conducted through their machines, and they're just trying to say, look, we don't know. Look, man, we don't know. But we know, like, we don't know who's doing this, but we know they sent it to this wallet. So go take your subpoena and go over here. It seems to me that that's the goal for this proposal. Again, no one else has come forth and has even hinted. I don't think anybody's even hinted at what their game plan looks like. So it's pretty cool that they actually released their entire game plan. And then I do want to say, I haven't used that company that came out with that stupid Spike Lee commercial. I've never used them. I've actually don't have any ATM experience, but I think it would make sense to me that if you're going to splash out millions of dollars fucking Spike Lee commercial and not even say the word Bitcoin, that you don't care about Bitcoin, you just care about your business. And that to me is what this proposal says.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone in FATF made a BIP that would basically regulate ATM providers because, in a way, they're money launderer or money transferring businesses.
My understanding, it was from the ATM company, and it's a proposed BIP that probably won't get numbered.
So is the ATM company making this BIP on behalf of FATF, or are they making this BIP to protect themselves from whatever FATF tries to do?
Good question. No, I think that's a fair question. I think you could say one, the other, or both. Like, how do we know that the person who proposed this BIP didn't come from FATF and is now working at the ATM company? Like, the industry is incestuous. Everybody knows everybody. So it looks like it's the ATM company proposing this on behalf of themselves.
Wait, that's the Bitcoin / crypto industry is incestuous?
No, I was thinking more like the regulatory industry.
Okay.
Right. So, and the example that I give for that is the former CTO of Chainalysis is now the leader of FinCEN.
Nice.
And he hasn't come down and dictated on-chain surveillance for the industry yet, but I fucking will bet a million stats that that's going to happen by the end of Joe Biden's term.
And
go
ahead.
This is the ATM. Yeah. This is the ATM company proposing the rule on their behalf, but in support of the FATF travel rule.
Fuck that.
Yeah. And
yeah, exactly.
I was just going to say we should never miss an opportunity to point out that the prosecutor of Ross Ulbricht works for Coinbase. Coinbase is racist.
Yeah.
That's what American Huddle's been showing that on Clubhouse, I guess. He's been telling everybody, don't use Coinbase. Coinbase is racist.
Coinbase just sucks.
I forget why exactly. There was some one of those bullshit news articles or whatever.
I haven't logged into Coinbase for years. I need to look at what they have listed.
But yeah, that proposal. So yeah, that's a great comment from Don. It creates equivalent of an API to send full KYC, including what's SP?
Service
provider location info to anyone you can scan with QR. Coinbase does teach critical race theory.
And here's the thing about kind of going, I'm going to derail us and segue a little bit, but Coinbase teaches critical race theory. Raytheon teaches critical race theory. It all has to do with these publicly traded companies and their access to ESG funds.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So like ESG, environmental, social governance, and that falls under the social side of things, and they can leverage that. What it comes down to is just, I think ultimately it just comes down to demoralizing people.
Yeah. Raytheon will, use green energy and LGBTQ friendly workplaces and, all this other stuff in their mission to murder children for living on the wrong patch of dirt, basically. But that's what they make their money off, is bombing hospitals and schools and these places.
Yeah, but this isn't even about being inclusive. And I think that's really important to talk about, is like, I don't think striving to be inclusive is a bad thing, and addressing racism. Like if somebody says something that's racist to somebody, and it's harmful, to address that, go through the channels, and we've had tons and tons of issues with this happening in corporate structures for years, of people treating each other, like shit, with sexual abuse of women and stuff like that. But that's not about what this is about. It's what I think ultimately critical race theory is really effective at is separating insiders from outsiders, because you changed language, you have to use pronouns now. You have to, which that doesn't follow the pronoun aspect. Isn't necessarily critical race theory. It's critical theory on a larger scale, but it's really easy to tell who's in and out. And it's about, demoralizing people. And Young Lurk was talking about earlier, people are scared to stand up and share their opinion. And that's ultimately what it's about, is like people are watching this and they're like, this is ridiculous, but I can't say anything. And that's why we see every Hollywood movie suck and be full of this propaganda, is because you got a ton of people that are terrified. And so, yeah. And I think ultimately they want to weed us out, but they want to like put us into these, prisons essentially, where we can't do anything.
And I think the way that we can use it against them is say, yeah, you don't want us in your society.
So
fine,
yeah,
we're out. I don't want to be in your society either. I don't want to be in a place that cares if I'm vaccinated, all this stuff that we've been talking about. And yeah, it's, I don't know. I think it could be a pretty rough short term, call it 3 years, 5 years, something like that. But anything beyond that, I'm just wildly, wildly optimistic about what this all looks like.
yeah, I don't think any of it's sustainable. Like they're not going to be able to hold the charade together, because, when they inflate the food supply or the cost of food and housing to the point where nobody can afford it anymore, what's going to happen? There's going to be a breakdown. They're not going to be able to control anything anymore.
Yeah. And it's, as more and more people get fuck you money, which is, fuck you money. If I have 10,000 sats, I can do whatever I want with those 10,000 sats, but it's also fuck you money of once I have enough, I can do whatever I want because I don't have to care what you think. Like that's, not to bring up breed love all over again, but like these people who shitcoin, who, lose their principles, or don't have principles or whatever. To me, what's so unfortunate about all of that is to be, right on the edge of having fuck you money. And even if you're rich, if you don't use fuck you money, then, it doesn't count. But like to have that kind of power and freedom. And, to me, the upside of that is to live a principled life of, once I have, I have fuck you money in Bitcoin. And so, I can do whatever I want with that money. And, the outcome of that is I can live by my principles. Like I don't have to compromise principles. I don't have to, do all this garbage for short-term gain and all that nonsense. Like it's a luxury that provides. And like I said, and that's true whether a person has 10,000 sats or more.
Yeah, spin the fold wheel,
There you go.
withdraw it, throw it through CoinJoin.
Yeah, definitely throw it through coins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm feeling pretty optimistic. And like one of the things that gets me feeling optimistic is I think they're going to have a really hard time coordinating these things together because there's so many different agendas, and the central planning always fails.
I did not see that.
I didn't see this either.
Don says, what do you guys think about Jason Williams pumping that Thor token rug pull? I don't believe I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Thor, I know we actually had it on the list. So that Shapeshift didn't start that, but it sounds like that's what they're launching their Fox token.
Eric Voorhees was a big advocate for Thorchain.
Okay.
I had a guy come to one of the Bitcoin meetups and tell me all about Thorchain, he didn't really tell me all about it because I wasn't really listening, but he was trying to show me on it and said that I would love it because I'm a maximalist. Like, why would I want to trade shitcoins for Bitcoin on a shitcoin project if I'm a maximalist? Why does that provide any use case for me? But yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is these are not decentralized projects and they don't need a token to operate.
Okay.
And
so Don saying a couple of months ago, Jason Williams interviewed the Thor team on Twitter and pumped them on Twitter. Yeah,
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Jason Williams. I've I was on Clubhouse for about 6 weeks and then quit. And I saw him in some rooms on there. And then I know during the bear market, he was buying like 100 Bitcoin at a time and then tweeting out the screenshots. So,
yeah. But yeah, going back to Eric Voorhees and Shapeshift, they've got a token on their website right now called Fox token that promises up to 750% APR. It's like if that's a scam, or if not a scam, I don't know what it is.
and it's roughly like an alternative to Binance Chain or Ethereum or like, isn't that like you build your bullshit? No one needs to scam people. You can, those are your choices. I believe it's, yeah, like an alternative to Ethereum, maybe. This Thor chain is, Fox is, would that be a utility token? I don't know. I don't know the difference.
It's a token that comes with amazing superpowers.
Oh, so it's a superpower token.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my gosh. Yeah, I'm starting to get upset with shitcoins, shitcoiners.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at it as financial Darwinism, and there's just kind of going back to, you know, what we've talked about on a few episodes of the mob. Like there's just a lot of people who are either completely incapable or completely unwilling to have any kind of, you know, critical interaction with reality. And it's not good. It doesn't make me happy. I wish it wasn't the case, but I don't know. I don't see a path toward that changing for 80 some, maybe more % of the population.
Yeah. Well, I was happy to see that the Tucson Shitcoin meetup is back up. They said they couldn't continue to meet because of COVID, which kind of shows where their mindset is. But on their meetup page, they have noted that they're going to be discussing EOS and Tron.
Okay. That's what, there was a, I won't say which one, but there was a tech meetup in Tucson that I used to go to when I lived here before. And, you know, I knew a lot of people from there, came back and I was like, hey, you know, I texted several of them, hey, you guys want to get a happy hour, you know, whatever, when's the next one? And they send me a Zoom link. I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're like, oh, we're not doing online events yet. You know, we're waiting for, you know, whatever, vaccination rate or some bullshit. I don't even know what. I was like, you guys are doing Zoom events still? And he's like, yeah, we're just trying to play it safe and keep everybody comfortable, whatever. He's like, so you're going to be there? And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, and, you know, if I just don't, that's to the point where it's like, I've met so many great Bitcoin people, you know, it's like, why the fuck would I spend time with people who are a word that got me banned from Twitter? Retarded.
I've been amazed the last, you know, week or so how many anti-vaccine posts I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it is because, like, the first thing that comes to mind is just a psyop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't know. It was, I guess at least the initial pass in France got reversed a little bit. They were going to do, you know, scan your passport to go to a bar, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I think Europe's totally lost. Like I've never been to Europe, and at this point, I don't see that happening, at least in the next couple of decades. Like there's so many other places I'd rather go visit.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Max Kaiser scream about Christine Lagarde next month.
Yeah.
They're
financial terrorists.
I mean, they are. Oh man, you see that video of Conor McGregor?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That blew my mind. That guy is such a tool.
Yeah. At least he got his ass kicked by Poirier.
He kicked his own ass.
Yeah.
Broke his shin
his
on a leg
Was it
kick.
his shin? I thought yeah.
Yeah, it was his tibia. Broken on a leg kick and then stepped back, and it just totally fractured.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a bummer to see that happen to somebody, but at the same time, it's,
if it has to happen to somebody.
yeah, might as well be the biggest tool.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. I can't remember if we talked about this again, if it was here or somewhere else, but like if somebody's arrogant and they back it up, I love it. I think, Mike Tyson at his prime, I think is just one of the greatest things ever, but, McGregor, especially after he got absolutely manhandled by Khabib, it's like, I don't know, and then still be talking that much shit. It's like, hey, why don't you work on backing it up first?
I think one of the things I appreciate about the UFC is Dana White's attitude through this whole thing. Dana White's kind of a asshole sometimes, and the way he treats his fighters, and with the whole Reebok deal, and that kind of continuing on. Oh, Crypto.com. They were sponsoring the UFC at this
really?
recent event. Yeah, good old shitcoin company.
Did you watch it this weekend?
This past one, no.
No, I didn't either.
I'm a bad fan. I have trouble following sports ball and other things, but I mean, it like you look at all the other sports and it's falling to the same problem of going and just beating the drum of whatever the narrative is, and people don't like it, and it fractures their fan base. It's not very good for business, but the UFC has not done that so much.
Yeah, when Dana White was like openly pro Trump, which was at least outside the norm. Fuck politics, fuck politicians, all that. But it was at least a little bit outside the norm of, I don't know, towing the party line.
Yeah. Let's play. What? How do you think things would look right now if Trump was president?
Oh,
I don't think they would be any better.
no. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't voted in a while and don't see that changing ever. Trying to think.
Voting is for clowns.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there'd be more, probably be more, actually, I don't know if there'd be more turmoil. Yeah, I really don't know.
I think we would have printed just as much money.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's really funny when people try to point inflation on Biden. It's like, come on, this is a collective effort. Everybody has responsibility in this.
Yeah, the policies around banking and foreign policy and all that have been the same since World War II. Like that doesn't change.
Yeah, some minor grandstanding differences.
Yeah. The last guy that tried to change the foreign policy one, they sent through Dallas in a convertible. So
that's such a great term to use. You can't say that, or else they'll roll you through Dallas in a convertible.
Yeah, that's the Joe Rogan to Gary Johnson. Did we tell that story on here? That's such a good
I don't
story.
think so.
So this is not Bitcoin related at all. It kind of is, because fuck the state.
NSA is Satoshi Nakamoto.
So 2016, Gary Johnson is on Joe Rogan, and he's explaining how the NSA was established by executive order. And so technically, whoever's president can disband the NSA. I think he was saying the CIA too, but I don't know for sure. I know for sure the NSA. So anyway, it's established by executive order. So technically, any president can just reverse that executive order and completely disband the NSA. And so Joe pulls the microphone to the side, and this was back when Joe was still funny before he went on Spotify. He goes, "Hey, just between you and me, that sounds like a pretty goddamn good way to get rolled through Dallas in a convertible, if you know what I'm saying." And what's he saying? If Trump was president now, I think we would be in a war. I don't think he would be able to pump the system full of money unless he went to war. That's entirely possible.
I mean, we are at war.
Yeah.
I am 100%. What was that?
My phone fell on the microphone stand.
Oh, okay. Cool. I thought it was the dog. I think we're 100% at war. I think all these cyber attacks. I mean, if you go and you just look through headlines, every week you'll see that there are multiple oil refineries around the world that are on fire. There's one in Azerbaijan recently, one in Iran, that one that happened in Mexico. These cyber attacks that are happening, the trade wars in a way that we saw between the U.S. and China was, pretty intense. I just think it looks a lot different. I think, our society in a way is in a civil war right now, but it's just not hot in the same way. I mean, you've got people fighting in the streets all the time. You've got states coming out and now passing constitutional carry and mandating or stating that they're going to be Second Amendment sanctuary states, and just defying the federal government. You've got a lot of talk of secession. There's so many things going on right now. So yeah, I mean, it might have been like a war between Trump and the intelligence agencies, kind of like we saw towards the end of his presidency. But yeah, that's my thoughts. And that's why it's good to have a farm with chickens.
Yeah, that's to me, like the federal government's trending to zero, period. And it's my hope is that it is more of a, Soviet Union 1989 type breakup where it's just like not there one day and not working and like nobody. I mean, of course you can pinpoint when the wall fell down, but outside of that, you can't really pinpoint this was the day the Soviet Union fell. And yeah, that's to me, like that would be the most optimistic way is if it was this long, maybe not long, but slow process. But I am operating on the assumption that it's going to be, that they're going to go Soviet and that it is going to get pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And I'll be pleasantly surprised if it doesn't.
It would have been fun to be alive during that time. I wasn't born yet. But I saw this awesome documentary about a guy that went and tried to buy a nuclear submarine from Russia.
Oh, nice.
To bring down to Colombia for some drug smuggling. We were talking about that a couple weeks ago about how everything's going to be for sale and how we're really limiting ourselves with what we can buy with Bitcoin in the future.
I have a fun bet with Bud Tugley, who was on here earlier, that by the year 2032, the Navy will have sold a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier for Bitcoin. Just as that was like the most tangible example I could think of the end of the American empire.
Who would they sell it to?
Somebody with a lot of Bitcoin.
Trace Mayer's going to buy.
Yeah, as long as he hasn't traded it away by then. So maybe Adam Back, I don't know, somebody like that.
There's so many cooler things you could buy than an aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers are pretty sick, but
yeah.
You
could probably put a lot of miners on there.
I don't know. My whole thing, ongoing is I want to get one of the decommissioned Titan missile silos.
Yeah. But this is something I know we were talking about earlier, last week or the week before, is, just talking about, there's a lot of Bitcoiners who are talking about hyper Bitcoinization, and they're like, oh, I'm looking on Zillow for my Citadel. And I hear that and I think my Citadel's not on Zillow. Like my Citadel is currently owned by a classified department of the federal government. Like that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at one of these bases or underground shit or missile silo, like
Area 51.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to get 6 bedrooms in a suburb. No, it's not gonna happen.
Area 51 would be the perfect spot for a Citadel.
Yeah, out at Groom Lake.
Yeah. Have you ever been out there before?
No, just seen pictures and read about it. That's another. Annie Jacobson did a book on Area 51 specifically. It's very good too.
I put that on my reading list. But yeah, it's so beautiful out there. Like in my head, I thought Nevada was just going to be, your typical desert. But when you get out there, it's high desert and it's a lot cooler and really pretty. And it's just way, way in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to get out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any good water sources. There has to be. There's probably some good well water.
I know a guy who got married last year, I think, and their honeymoon was to drive to a bunch of different alien sightings and drop acid at each one.
Oh, nice.
So they went to Area 51, Roswell, a bunch of other places.
Area 51 would be a good place to do that too. There's like this small town called Rachel. It depends on which side you go to. I haven't been. I think the other side, it's called Hurricane. That's where you can see the white bus drive in, where it picks up all the people, drives them in from Hurricane. But on the Rachel, Nevada side, there's this small town with maybe like 10 houses. And then the other side is all BLM land that you can just camp on. And it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Just a highway running down. Maybe we could say like the start of the fall of the federal government was when the raid of Area 51 happened.
Maybe.
That was the catalyst.
there's a theory that killing Harambe put us into an alternate parallel universe, because that was, I forget the exact timeline, but basically it was shortly before Trump announced his presidency was when the gorilla got killed, and then people say that something about killing, I don't know, some of those things you read on Reddit and laugh at.
R.I.P. Harambe.
Yeah.
That was a sad day.
Harambe Cafe in Tucson. Go check it out. Maybe they could be one of our sponsors.
Is there actually one called
Yeah,
that?
it's a cafe attached to a dispensary that'll let you smoke weed there. It's pretty sweet.
I didn't know you could do that yet.
And I didn't either until a couple weeks ago. I went to went by there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, and you can go try it out in our cafe back there." And I was like, "No shit, nice." I didn't, but I filed that away because I definitely want to go check it out.
So if the federal government falls, do you think Ross Ulbricht will get out of prison?
Yeah, I mean, that's, at this point it looks like that's, the Bitcoin price going up is the only thing that's going to break him out of prison, most likely. Either by, us getting together and buying a pardon, which those will be for sale before too long, or having the resources to some other way help him get out like he should be.
I just hope he makes it.
Yeah.
It's just a soul crushing experience.
Yeah.
When I'm going to be moving and building a new podcast studio, and I'm going to put up his drawing that his mom gave me.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember that. That was at Barrio. That was cool.
Yeah. Cool. ESG's bullshit.
ESG's bullshit. So is Thor. Buy Bitcoin. Don't sell it. Don't use leverage.
We don't know how much ivermectin to take.
Yeah. Sorry, Phil. We couldn't get you an exact medical answer.
Can always count on him to ask a question like that.
Yeah. When in doubt, never mind. I was going to say when in doubt, take the whole bottle, but not great to joke.
That's probably
Stuff that
a
might poison
terrible
you.
idea. Yeah. I mean, that stuff's like no joke. I think like this is one of the things that's really bad about the way that they're controlling the narrative right now, is that people, see that this is a possibility for treatment, and they know how dishonest these people are. And they think, oh, well, then this is the answer. This is good. But, a deworming drug, it's going to be pretty heavy on your body. So you want medical supervision when you're doing something like that, obviously.
Yeah. There's got to be some information on dosage based on how much you weigh or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Well, thanks for calling in. Don, you got any last questions for us? Nope.
All right. Go check out Dirtbags Bar. Best place to meet your future ex-wife.
Best bar in Tucson.